How's everyone? Morgue. On antibiotics for 10 days. 2 pills, 2 morning, 2 at night. Oof. That's a lot of antibiotics. Morgue. I think Marika's here too. I think I've seen her name popping around. Oh, MLA. What's going on? How are you, MLA? Welcome. Still freezing in here. The heat, they literally just turned the heat back on the second floor of my building. They've been working on it all day. It was 62 degrees in this stinking room. I shaved, yes. It's growing back already. Mom was pretty upset. She screamed at me, asked me where my upper lip went to. So I reluctantly agreed to grow it back. Figured I'm on an extended vacation. Why can't I shave? Lip injections when? Yeah. Give it a couple days. It'll be back to normal. I'll have all the same crap on my face I had before. Yep. I just like to look at all the scars and stitches and stuff that I have all on my on my chin. Makes me feel tough. So how's everyone's isolation been? Everybody staying sane? Everyone's behaving themselves so far? Has anyone seen... So there's a new thing on Twitch now where you can create like an intro screen. I don't know how to explain it. You can do like an intro video. I think that's what it is. Emily, I actually started and finished a series on Netflix. Which series did you start and finish? You tend to start but not finish. I'm not a big TV I can't watch TV series. Oh, Bodyguard. I've actually heard of that one. I don't watch a lot of TV. That's a lie. I watch a lot of TV. But my TV usually consists of YouTube and Twitch stuff. I like documentaries. I like to learn about stuff, mechanical things, how things work. I like taking stuff apart. Doing construction road, and they decided to put the stop point right in front of our house. So now every car keeps turning around in our driveway. 8 cars in the last hour. And they've turned around. You want to punch me? Well, that's not very nice. Punching people's bad. Okay. Yeah. What was your favorite part of Bodyguard? The series, MLA. You heard of that, Morgue? Are you a TV person, Morgue? You seem to be on Twitch. All of it? Wow. That says a lot, actually. Hey, Boomer. Donnie Lucifer. You don't TV often? Now, Donnie Lucifer, that strikes me as somebody that says, hey, Boomer. As like a Dingle McGee type statement. This has got to be like his Smurf account. Who's Donnie Lucifer? How's it going, mate? It's going good, man. Show yourself, Dingle. It's not a Smurf. You change your name? Who's Donnie Lucifer? Why do I know you? How do you know to call me Boomer? All things must be revealed. Explain you. You're not a Smurf? My daughter's a Smurf. Because you're a Boomer. Be nice to me. Everyone's always got to pick on me. I'm old and I have no facial hair. I'm more of a leprechaun. too funny. Be nice to me. I'm sick. That's too funny. You know, Mark, I have to tell the truth. This is just me being open and honest because I'm a transparent fella. You know, it's 2020 and all. When you come onto the Minecraft server and you Minecraft with me for the 5 minutes that you're on, and then you just disconnect, and all I see in the bottom is Morg Meme has left the server. I picture this is what I look like at my desk. I picture this is like, I'm like, she didn't even say goodbye. She just left.
Thanks for tuning in.
Donnie Lose for joining the gym. Welcome to the gym, Donnie. Don't forget, Thursday's leg day. But, I mean, the nice thing is that, you know, the gyms are closed, so there's no leg day. That's too funny. Someone just texted me. Who just texted me? And why? Stop texting me. They probably want something. It's usually what it is. Yeah, it's my chiropractor. It's like, dude, get your butt in here. It's been a while. What's up, Dad? Hey, you just followed. You must have hit the alert button. Did you hit the little bell, Dad? Don't talk about Jim. I'm so insecure about it. So, Donnie, I still don't know who you are. I'm being legit. And also, I miss my pubs. Donnie Lucifer, why do I know that? I know the name. I can't place you. I'm sorry. Oh, yes. I will shut up now. What movies are rated? Pirated movies. I get it. I get it. I'm Irish. I don't know. Yeah. I'm guessing by the whole Irish, all that kind of stuff, I'm guessing you're probably part of Andy's stream. Call me a boomer. Morg. So how's Dad doing? You staying sane there, bro? Keeping things on the... Oh, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Appreciate that.
Is someone here? I'm just trying to make some friends.
Yay for friends. Can you guys hear that? I can hear that. That sounds awesome. I love when Choco says hello. Hello, Anna. How are you? Thank you for joining in. Thank you for auto-hosting. Appreciate that. So I think today we're going to be, Nick will be joining us for a little bit. Choco is pretty great, not going to lie. Nick's going to come in a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about stuff, but we're going to talk about more the new norm, kind of what to expect, what we expect is going to happen, you know, particularly with our situation, our kids and all that kind of stuff. Just sort of working-ish, Dad? How you mean working-ish? All right, always lost in my own thoughts. Yeah, that's, you know, past couple nights, it's taken me literally 2 hours to go to sleep, Anna. And it's just, some of the stuff that goes through my mind at night is just like, what, how am I even, is this even a thing right now? How am I having this conversation? Not every Florida beach, specific ones where the virus testing is extremely low, Donnie. But they're still, they literally just arrested a whole bunch of people in Palm Beach the other day and ended up catching a wanted criminal in the process. So it was pretty neat. But no, not everybody's all the way open. So I'm in Michigan, and I'm about as far from being open as you're going to get. So it's kind of working from home and getting so much done as I came with. Yeah. That's hard. You know, that's I'm so task-oriented, Dad, that I'll answer your question in a second, Donnie, that when I get on a task, I don't like to deviate. I don't like to get off task, you know what I mean? And with the wife and the kids, and you know, so I'm in the basement working away doing something, you know, one of the projects I've got going, and the wife's down in the basement doing something, and she needs a box pulled down, and she's like, "Hey, can you help me pull this box down?" I'm like, I don't want to be interrupted, you know. That's how bad I am, you know. So you know, and even if I'm reading a book, like I read a lot of different books and stuff, and so even if I'm reading a book and somebody farts in the other room, I'm like, you know, and then I got to reread the whole chapter again because I've completely lost track of what I've just been reading. So, and this is why I cry at night, Morg, honestly. Michigan, it's Michigan. You know, what can I say? Not only is it cold and windy and crappy outside, I can't buy barbecue. I can't buy flowers to go plant flowers. It's dumb. I mean, I can go kayaking. I just can't put a motor on the back of my kayak. Some of the stipulations that are here, I'm going to get political, and I don't want to, but it's just I'm not happy. Dingle McGee, I was just trying to get mad at you, and it didn't work. You're the same, Dad? Distracted? I'm like that sometimes. Most times I get sidetracked. Yeah, you know, and so one of the things that I did in my house is I built like a 15 by 15 kind of room for myself, and put all my what do you call it? All my man things in there. You know, my tools and all the stuff that tends to make you bleed in that space, so that when I want to get unsidetracked, I can kind of close the door and just stay in my own little world for as long as need be. And it's been great. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about what I've been up to the past couple of weeks in my quarantine time in a little bit here, but yeah, we'll get to that. Are we back to no? Morg's sadly still got the sniffles. And I'm Dingle McGee. How you doing, brother? I ain't seen you stream in a couple days. Have you not been streaming, or have I just been missing you? What's up, Bushman Can? I was going to say Bushmaster. I got firearms on my brain. How's Bushman Can doing? Yeah, it's definitely. I'm definitely glad that she's doing better. Sidetrack is a boomer trait. How is it a boomer trait? That's not very nice to say. Seriously. Would prefer a Bushmaster as well. Yeah. Mentally relaxing. Did you get your computer situation all sorted out, Dingle? Get the whole... Was it your power supply? Did it end up being what you thought it was? That's so frustrating to me. When you texted me that, man, I was like, you got to be kidding me that you're having another tech issue. That computer has been a flippin' nightmare. So not fair. So here's my... This is what I've been up to. Well, y'all talk about what you're talking about. Before the whole COVID thing happened, we were having some construction done at Rise Above here. And for those of you that don't know, one of my passions is firearms. I love to shoot competitively. I've hunted my entire life. I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but that's a reality I grew up with. I grew up on a small farm, and I just always grew up hunting and fishing and doing all that kind of stuff, outdoors type stuff. And I've always had found great joy tinkering with firearms and cleaning and making things work and whatever else. And while this construction was going on, I got talking to my drywall guy that was doing work here at Rise Above, and he's like, I don't know how even we got on the topic, but he brought up the issue of firearms. Oh, actually, I think it was his hat, because this is a gun manufacturer hat, 6 Hour. And he says, oh, do you shoot, blah, blah, blah. And I talked about my competitive shooting, and other things. And I do something called USPSA and Steel Challenge. If anyone's familiar, you can Google it if not. And he said, oh, you know, I knew this old fella, and he had a big house fire, and I got these 3 firearms that he gave to me, and you know, I've got them all tore apart. They're all rusted up and blah, blah, blah. And they're sitting basically literally in coffee cans at the moment. And I just never been able to have the time or the know-how to fix them. And I'm like, dude, are you kidding me right now? I have a full gunsmithing room in my house. You know, I have everything on the planet to fix firearms. Passion of mine. He's like, oh, you're kidding me? You know, how much would that cost? I'm like, dude, there's nothing going on right now. I would love to just basically play with them. You know, give them to me, and you know, I'll take them apart, clean them up, and give you back as new a gun as I possibly can. And so he did. He brought over these 3 completely disassembled firearms in pieces. And I think I'll show you pictures on my phone of how I received them. And you'll be, if you're not like blown away by it, I don't know what will blow you away. This is what they look like when I received them. I don't know if you can see that, but those are coffee cans, and those are guns in a million pieces inside coffee cans on inside my workspace. And when I say they were rusted, I'll see if I can find you a picture of what I mean in kind of the condition of the stocks and the guns themselves. So if you can see how badly rusted that is, like that's about as bad as rust that you're ever going to see on a firearm. Let alone you don't want that on your car, let alone your firearm. And this is remember I said the stocks were in a fire? Yeah, so you can see kind of the black sooty burnt wood on the stock. Yeah, it really is tinker to your heart's content. I have spent weeks fiddling, cleaning with like dental picks, you know. And this is what I mean when I say take apart a gun. This is what I'm talking about, you know. That's kind of my meticulous nature when I take stuff apart, like right down to the. Would you like some gun with your ruster? Yeah, exactly. But that's how detailed. You know, and so then not only do I take this stuff apart, I refinish all the surfaces, and this particular one, this is a World War II Kar 98, and this is the front sight removed. Well, it came off actually. It's soldered on, and this is after I'd kind of resoldered it back on. You can still see the sight has been removed from it. Oops. Yeah, so now I've soldered it back on at that point. Do I have it? Yeah, and this is after I've cleaned it up. So I learned a couple of new techniques. So you can see how, I mean, I'm pretty meticulous. Oops. This is before rust mitigation on this particular one, but you can see the sight's now been completely put back on and soldered into place, in the actual dovetailed sight has actually been put back onto it. So it's been a lot of fun, but I'll see if I can find. So I have finished one of them, and it's a lever action, and I left some of the character. Oops, I left some of the character of the firearm from the fire in place, and you'll see it on the shoulder stock on this particular one. So that's the one completely put back together, completely all rust removed, and the stock refinished, except for the shoulder stock I left kind of with the fire damage on it, because I thought it looked like, what's up, Mr. Soggy Waffles? Yeah, Marika, don't even get me started. Yeah. Anyways. So that's what I've been up to. So all that to say, I get these 3 firearms. One's a semi-automatic 308 Remington. The other is a Marlin 3030 lever action. And then the other is this, what he said was a 100-plus-year-old Mauser 8mm rifle. Okay, whatever. And I said to him, oh, I've always wanted an 8mm, blah, blah, blah. And he says, well, if you get the other two to a point where I can at least hang them on the wall and they look decent, he said, you can keep the Mauser as payment. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I would, I'll happily do that. So I get these three firearms. I fix the lever action, and I get looking at the Mauser, and I realize that the Mauser has all the serial numbers matching because it's a German-made firearm, and they serialize everything. And it's a complete firearm. I thought, wow, for a 100-year-old gun, it's surprising that everything's intact. Well, I get researching the serial numbers, and it's not a 100-year-old firearm. It's actually from 1943. And so it was throwing me because it looked nothing like a 1943 8mm Mauser, like any 8mm Mauser I'd seen before. And so I thought, well, that's not right. So I'm doing tons and tons of research on this thing, and I can't figure out for the life of me where is, like, the stock is different, the iron sights are different, the bolt looks completely different. And so, yeah, seriously, I didn't even realize they had black powder back then. I thought they were still using stones. So I get doing more research, and what I find out, it is indeed a 1943 German-made Mauser. And the differences I'm seeing, and I'm still looking a lot of this up, but I've gotten a good bit of the details. The differences I'm seeing is because the German manufacturer, the particular, and I'll butcher the name if I try and say it, but the particular manufacturer, when they, what's up, Hell? Yeah, I'm used to it. It's, don't worry, I give it back to him on his own stream. Yeah, yeah. Soggy gets it back. It's a good trade, Soggy. It's a good trade. So this German manufacturer, they test fire every rifle, as a good manufacturer should do, and at 100 yards. And when they would test fire them, if it grouped a certain way, they would set it like really well. It would, because the barrel was made properly, they would set the rifle apart, and they would designate it a sniper rifle. And they would give it a certain designation on the bolt, which mine has. So what I have found out is that this was indeed one of these set-aside rifles, and the bolt that is different that I'm seeing is because once it was designated, it was given a different bolt with a swept handle. That's why I wasn't seeing what I was expecting to see. That's why the iron sights that I was seeing had ranges out to 1,000 yards marked in it. And yeah. So this is, and the symbols that are on it are symbols that belong to a German officers' corps, so, which would explain the sniper, because you had to have certain rank in order to be a marksman. So yeah, I've got, I don't know, and this is the next part of my research. I'm now trying to figure out how this thing got to America, who the old fellow was that had the house fire that originally gave it to this other guy, how he came to own it, and who brought it back from Germany, because somebody brought it back from World War II. It came back because that was normal. Guys brought back all kinds of things, including cars from the war. You obviously don't do that anymore, but in the Second World War, that was what you did. You brought back treasure from the war. So somebody brought this thing home, and I need to figure out who and why it came to be in my possession. So I have a 1943 World War II German 8mm Mauser that was designated for an officer's battalion in the German army. So, yeah, that is pretty amazing. I agree, Dingle. It's pretty cool. So I've got to do a little bit more research, and hopefully we can at some point do a stream, firearm stream on that. I would have loved to have done a whole stream on the fixing of it and everything else, but it doesn't look like we're going to get to do that. So, yeah, so I've got a lot going on in my own time. I'm literally spending 7-8 hours a day down in my basement in my studio, working on all this stuff and making things new. It's pretty fun. The spoils of war. Yeah, I kind of like that, Marika. I am a bit of a cave dweller. There is a window. I get a bit of natural light. See, Hells, so here's the crux of the question today. Still doing the same, you know, keeping out of the public areas, blah, blah, blah. Are you guys all in states or countries where you're on full lockdown? Like in Michigan, I'm on full lockdown. You're in the UK, Hal? Yeah, you guys are still pretty much on the uptick. You haven't hit the top of the curve yet. How's Boris doing? I just noticed something that is not right. Give me a second. I am not okay with this. We need to fix things right now, as Andy would say. When? Right now. Done.
Okay. Everything's great. Everything is awesome.
Hell needs access to emotes. I think they're also waiting to see how Italy and others are using lock. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I heard about that and I was like, oh my gosh. So, and this was, I mean, part of what I talked about last week with the whole lockdown thing, social distancing. I mean, we are social creatures. We are, not only are we social creatures, but we are physical beings in the sense that we like to be in contact, physical contact with each other. And at some point, we are going to go a little crazy without the physical and social contact that we have, you know, literally for my 45 years come to enjoy. Yeah, no problem. Don't worry about hell. It's not a big deal, buddy. The reality is, you know, we're already starting to see some of the effects, and I'm not blaming what happened in Canada. So has everyone heard about what happened in Canada yesterday? Anyone know what I'm talking about? I'll see if anyone knows what I'm going to refer to. Something pretty big happened in Canada yesterday. Something that's never happened before. There was a mass shooting in Canada where 16 people were killed by one guy pretending to be a police officer. Yeah, went around and shot people all over the particular province that he was from. And, you know, pretty, for the most part, normal dude. He was a dentist. I've actually been to the town that this happened in. I worked for a company that was out of Nova Scotia and was all over that part of the country. And I'm not blaming what he did on this. But one of the things that I talked about with somebody else this morning was this concept of very much people, we all have underlying factors, right? That in things that we use to compensate. So we're all on the verge of insanity at any given moment. What keeps us sane, usually the people around us. Sometimes it's our sports, our habits, deviant or otherwise. And I think some of the stuff that we're going to find out from that, not for a fact, I'm not claiming this is what happened, I'm just saying as kind of a gateway to the full bigger conversation. I believe what we're going to find out is that for this gentleman, some of the stuff that were his buffer were removed because of this whole social mitigation thing, this whole social distancing and quarantining and whatnot, where suddenly, yeah, the amount of police tweet. When I got that tweet, I was like, what in the world? That's pretty crazy. But I think what's going to happen is people that seemed normal, average folks are going to have, now again, that's very extreme. But I'm even talking just about frustrations or anger in conversations or emotional episodes where people are going through these larger swings of, okay, I'm really good right now, and then suddenly I'm really, really low, you know, where people are going to go through some pretty dramatic, episodic type events that normally they don't experience. People are going to go through things, pardon me, that they typically don't emotionally experience. They may experience it, but they maybe don't realize they experience it because of the mitigating things that are around them, and the things that typically will help absorb some of the impacts that that would be felt in a time like this, a time when we have this social isolation that we're experiencing. I mean, where you can't, and I think it was you, Hal, that said, you know, you can't even go plant flowers. You know, compound that with, I mean, you're living in a northern state or province or some other part of the world that is still not warm for summer. You know, and you're stuck inside. So not only do you have no ability to go to the store and to buy things to do stuff, it's too cold to even get out and do stuff if you could. And so there's some compounding factors, and I think that people are going to be surprised when we go back to work, when we go back to the new normal, which I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk to Nick about here soon. That we're going to find people that we thought we knew are different. And so this gets back to my a bit of my military experience, is that there's a term used that says the military changes people. Have anyone never heard that before? Yeah, I don't think so either, Anna. I think there's people are going to change. Like, this isn't just a weekend. This isn't a week. This has been weeks. And in some cases, it will be months before things are even close to being normal again. And when months transpire, just again, back to the military conversation, if you take somebody, an 18-year-old, 17-year-old boy, girl, and you put them in the military and you put them through basic training, parents, when they get their kids back, will not get back the same young man or woman that they sent. It will be a very different person. Why? The experience of it changes them emotionally. Most times for the good, but sometimes for the bad, in the sense that they become more crass, they become more sharp in their verbiage and their wording, and I think people will have a similar experience at the tail end of this quarantine. Mental health and well-being is going to be massively affected. People are struggling with social distancing, and then you have all of the other side. Job losses, yeah, absolutely. Companies and businesses closing, etc. It will have a massive. I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it goes without saying that, and again, I don't agree with Trump on a lot of things, but one thing he said recently that I completely agree with is that there is at some point going to be a lesser of two evils that are going to crop up with the country being closed down, or countries being closed down. The longer you close them down to stop the transfer of a virus, the more likely you are to have the introduction of mental and social dysfunction. And so while you're saving people from getting sick physically, you're causing a lot of social and emotional damage that, unlike a virus, where you can give somebody a pill to make them feel better or wait out some time for your own body to heal itself, social and emotional damage is not that way. It isn't like you just wait a week and things get better. It requires intentionality, not only on the affected person's part, a willingness to step into a place of healing, but it also takes intentionality from those around. And Mork, you can attest to this, I'm sure. It takes some intentionality on the community's part to reach out to that person, because very often somebody who is socially, emotionally scarred does not know. They don't understand. They just, why is everyone so angry all the time? You know, and what they don't understand is people are responding to their new social and emotional norm. And it comes across as everyone else is just angry. Why is everyone so mean to me? I don't get it. And they're just, we see this with our students here all of the time, is they just think everyone hates them. Well, no, it's not that everyone hates you. Everyone's mad at you. Everyone gets pissed off because you're always upset. Why are you always upset? You know, and that's part of the whole PTSD thing. It absolutely does, Anna. And it doesn't only take time. It takes expertise. It takes intentionality from everybody around the affected person. And I'm not saying that this is going to affect some people or certain people. I'm saying without hesitation, this affects everybody. Everybody. There isn't one person that isn't going through some form of abnormal social isolation that is not going to have some form of temporary permanent effect, period, including myself. I already find myself becoming lazy. Yeah. I'm not going to do push-ups. I'm not going to do whatever. What's up, Felix? How are you, buddy? You know, so that's, for me, that's how it's manifesting right now. My eating is just, I'm going all over the place. Normally I'm very disciplined in this stuff. Now I'm like, whatever. You know, I'm, forgetting birthdays. I'm doing all kinds of just things that are very abnormal. Yeah, PTSD-like symptoms, not necessarily PTSD, but like in World War II, and I think babies are going to be affected as well. Yeah, and I think that when you look up what PTSD is and the symptoms of it, I mean, it's pretty wide range. I mean, there's a lot of things that have a very similar look and feel as PTSD. But ordinarily, what we're going to see in people is what I call slothfulness. The idea that people will just suddenly, I have no motivation. That's why I was so legitimately excited when this guy said, hey, I have these things that I don't know how to fix. Can you fix them? I was like, yes, give me something to do. Let me work my hands, let me work my mind, and let me focus my energy on a single task for a period of time. It was something that I believe literally saved me from going crazy. I mean crazy in the sense of cuckoo, but I mean just stir crazy, bored, being a complete sloth in my own home. Because again, I'm in a spot where, I mean, I can't even go buy flowers to plant in my yard. And again, even if I could, it's still getting down to zero or negative numbers here at night, Celsius, that is. Right? Yeah, that's a great thing. I mean, if you're musically inclined, like Anna, like that's, pick a guitar up, pick up, I saw Chaco on his stream that he got a set of drums delivered to his house. I mean, that guy's musically inclined like nobody else. Yeah, I mean, I mean, mentally down, comparing it to my normal self, right, Felix? So my normal self, I'm like extremely bubbly. I'm like high energy, always doing something, going 1,000,000 miles an hour with 14 different things. And I'm on all these different boards and I've got Rise Above and blah, blah, blah to work on. And then suddenly everything is gone. I've got my boys' soccer and it's all gone. Just like everybody else, it's all gone. And then suddenly you're staring at the wall, looking at my wife going, okay, it's 11 o'clock. Are we going to get out of bed now? Like, what's the point? Like, why are we going to get out of bed? Right? It's not that I'm down. I'm not like, you know, sad and mopey, you know, but I can definitely feel myself turning that direction. I'm not my normal self. It's basically what I'm saying. And I consider myself a very mentally strong person, but there are, you know, all of us respond to things in different ways, socially, emotionally, and otherwise. And I just think that if I am feeling this way, I can just imagine how others who were already in a valley before this hit, how their valley just got even deeper. So Chaco was owning last night. I didn't get a chance to see it. I missed it. What time did he get on? He must have got on late. Just imagine if this had happened when there was not the social media and internet. Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you had no internet, Hal, could you imagine? Like literally, you would literally have TV. Because again, especially in the state of Michigan, I'm just going to use our state as an example. I can't even go buy a barbecue right now. I can't buy a barbecue. How ridiculous is that? I'm going to go back and watch it for sure. Yeah, and how that's been one of the coolest things about this is just to be able to get other people's perspectives from all over the world, to be able to talk to you guys on a regular basis about, you know, not only this, you know, virus and the impact it's having on us, but just general stuff. To be able to enjoy each other on streams and laugh at each other, as you know, as Mr. Poggy Waffles so eloquently demonstrated earlier, being able to kind of dig at each other a little bit and have some fun and joke around and not take things personal all the time. You know, I think that's one of the nice things about guys like Soggy is, you know, being able to have fun with each other and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Marika, soccer, and this is the crazy thing. So my oldest son is on a soccer scholarship in university, and he just got called up to play because he's going into a senior year, so he's playing for the A team, so to speak. He was super excited, and now everything's up in the air for his senior year, and his scholarship is a substantial part of his tuition. It's over half, so and then my youngest guy, because he's going into 10th grade. He's looking at soccer because he's very accomplished at soccer as well as his possibly part of kind of like what my oldest son is doing, you know, using it to pay for tuition and, you know, get into a pretty prestigious school, hopefully. And now missing a whole season of soccer can really impact your game. All right. Hey, what's up, Insightful Nick? What's happening, man? Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, no problem. You hang out for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 years, whatever works for you. Yeah, I'm feeling myself. I'm just being lazy, man. Pardon me. Oh yeah, I'll go watch the VOD Dingo for sure. There's a little motivation to get up Groundhog Day and finding other channels. Yeah, and you know, the thing for me is, I think what saves me a lot of times, hell, is I'm naturally inquisitive. So it doesn't bore me to sit, again, this gets back to your other statement about having, thank God we've got the internet. It doesn't bore me to sit and surf the internet for 3-4 hours on a given subject, let alone the myriad of billions of things you could talk about and look up on the computer. You know what I mean? I mean, I can literally sit there. I talked about the Mauser, the 1943 German Mauser rifle. It would not bother me one bit to sit down in my studio and search serial numbers for this German Mauser for 3 hours. It wouldn't. I would be in my happy space to do that. It wouldn't bother me one bit to do that. Or sit there with a dental pick for 4, 5, 6, 12 hours like I did last week, and sit there and pick nooks and crevices of an action or a bolt in one of these same things. Or it could be a tool, could be a drill, or who knows whatever I'm working on. If I'm into it, I'm into it, you know? And I think that's my saving grace is my ability to get enthralled by something simple like that. I'm a simple man. It doesn't take a lot to get me, oh, look, squirrels. You know, it doesn't take a lot to get me excited. So, yeah, and you know, I think the biggest thing for me right now is I just need to get back out shooting and training and practicing for what I hope maybe will be a late season for the Steel Challenge and whatnot that I was looking forward to this year. Yeah, Theron's got a lot to worry about, you know, in what his last senior year is going to look like of university. Yeah, you know, it's interesting, you know, when you get into some of this stuff and when you get into particularly really what is an antique and something that has historical value to it. Now, I mean, there's millions of these things produced, and it isn't like it's worth millions of dollars or anything like that. It's a couple $100 at the most. But there's an intrinsic historic value to this, and I'm more interested in the original owner and then the one who relieved him of ownership at this point. I want to know that story. That, to me, is the value. That, to me, because that's two families that cross paths, right? Hey, Nick, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, come on in, man.
Just talking to your wife. So.
Yeah, no problem. How's she doing? I should talk to her, too, sometime. So let me bring Nick in. Nick's just joining us in the studio. Your mic is on, Nicholas.
What's going on, everybody?
How's Nick doing today?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
We're just talking a little bit about how, well, there's two big pictures that I'm talking about right now. One is how I'm keeping myself mentally sane.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, the tasks that I'm giving myself to do and some of the kind of mind-numbing detail work of some firearm repair that I'm doing at the moment. I'll share some of those stories.
It's not how I spend my time.
It's my passion. No. But is the stream up on that PC?
Yep,
Can
it
you
is
see
now.
chat? Okay,
Yep.
good. And you know, talking a lot about how socially, I think things are going to be different.
Yeah.
I think, and also how I think it's in the title of the stream is the new norm. You know, this idea of I just think that the new norm socially is also going to be very different than the new norm personally.
Yeah. Do you think people are going to crave community that didn't crave community before?
My initial response is yes.
Yeah.
But I think it'll balance out because I think here it is going to happen again. What I believe is going to happen is that you're going to have a both and situation where you're going to have some who are like, oh my gosh, I just need to talk to people. Yeah. Thank God I can go out and talk to John Doe.
Yeah.
But I think you're also going to have some people that are like, I actually really enjoyed that. You know, I really found a new part of myself I never thought I had before. Yeah. Because again, life is so chaotic, and I never had a chance to just shut up and sit down.
Correct. Like I think it's definitely going to change some of the things we put value in, some of our ability to to be home, you know, to not be busy. I think about my life, and it was insane those couple weeks before we got locked down. I was out of the house every night for something, and it's something that I would want to do or something I've committed to. But like, are we going to put that same value on busyness that culture has over the last 10, 15 years?
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? I mean, you think people that are normally kind of introverts in the sense of not seeking, you know, that re-energizing through other people, you think some of that's going to come out in some, especially early on. I think you're right in the sense that I think early on people are going to be like, oh my gosh, let's go out to, you know, the mall and just hang out with people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think one of the things I saw that was interesting this morning, Northwest School District, my kids went back to school today, and one of the teachers posted that one of her quietest students in class like sent her these messages engaging with the lesson saying, this is so cool, blah, blah, blah. And what was interesting for that is she felt more comfortable in that setting than she did in front of other people. And so like she's going to develop this personality, or the teacher's going to be able to see this personality or whoever in a way that they couldn't before, because obviously in that online setting she was more comfortable engaging, you know, and that's cool too. Like that's an introvert type person that can find an extrovert in a way, you know,
because we say this all the time, right? People will say stuff on the internet and in chat rooms, you know, in Facebook or on tweets. That they would never say to somebody face to face.
Correct. Yeah.
They would ask questions. They would make comments. They would give answers to things that they would never do in a private one-on-one setting. Yeah. Right. So I think that's definitely something we're going to see more and more come out. And from an academic or educational setting, I think one of the things that's going to happen is, it's like you said, it's going to give insight to teachers on students that they never.
Correct. I think about how even here, how we can talk directly to a student through their computer, you know, like when we're monitoring them. And that's been an in for some relationships for me where you haven't been able to connect face to face yet. You get them to connect in a way, you know, virtually, if you will, and then it leads to the face-to-face being a more positive experience, you know.
So we have a piece of software here at Rise Above called Land School, and it's fairly popular. It's a lot of different districts use it. Yeah. We're not special by any stretch of imagination, but what it does is it allows us to interact with students' computers, every student's computer, in real time. So we can actually basically, I can see their screen.
Correct. And sometimes it's corrective, you know.
Oh, yeah. So, sometimes it's a rebuke, right? To say, hey, come on, get back on task or whatever the case is. But, you know, very often we can use it for things like, hey, you okay? Do you want to talk? Or, hey, hey, great work on that exam or that test or whatever the case is. Congratulations on passing that class or whatever the case, you know. So I think that's one of the things that will probably come out of this as well as, like you said, people getting a chance to get to know others more deeply. How do you think it's going to change business?
Yeah, I worry about that in a way.
Because you're a bit of a coffee shop junkie.
I am a coffee shop junkie, and I'm a chat junkie. And actually, what was so good for my soul, this is off your topic or your question.
Yeah, you're fine.
Whatever. I went to the coffee shop last week to get coffee, and another guy from my church walked in at the same time, and the coffee shop owners go to our church as well. So we were all socially distant, but we chatted for like 35 minutes, and that was so good for my soul because I hadn't had that kind of interaction at all. You know, in a business sense, obviously right now we're having to do a lot of things online. And there's a lot of mom and pops type stuff closed. I think about it like for the first 15 years of my life, my dad owned a men's clothing store, you know, it would be done. Like it would be done. You know, there would be no recovering, no coming back, you know. And so I think about that a lot and the people that I know that are going through that a little bit right now, you know.
We're one of those people.
We are one
as an organization. We're one of those people.
And we know other types of those people, the other organizations we interact with. Yes, the government is doing some things to try to help them survive, but do we go back to that, you know, like do we ever, because you can get, I mean, I just look at, there's people, I mean, even going to like an online grocery service and stuff and all of that, like things that you never thought would happen. And some of that was happening before, but it's just so, I don't know. Like I romanticize the mom and pop stores. I just do, you know.
Yeah, we tried our best. I mean, we don't eat out a ton, you know, once every couple of weeks maybe, you know. But we've been very intentional the past couple months we know a few owners in town, and we're once a week we're very intentionally going, and I'm going to do some takeout out of that guy's place this week. And
we do takeout Tuesday, and because in our house it used to be Tasty Tuesday, where the kids could decide what they wanted for dinner, so we didn't have to fight them. So we've changed it to Takeout Tuesday.
Nice.
And we've been doing that too, and trying to spread it out. Even though there's some I want to go back to because I do know those businesses better, you know. But
yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that idea of of helping out friends and that collaborative effort. I mean, one of the things I thought was interesting was I have my neighbor who moved in about a year and a half ago now, recently. He has some physical ailments, COPD. You know, he can't do a whole lot. You know, you watch him cut his grass. He does 2 or 3 passes. He has to stop, catch his breath a little bit, and then he goes again. And we've had a chance to talk kind of over the fence the past few days as the weather's permitted, and it's been interesting to hear from him kind of that same conversation of you know, oh, it's nice to see you. You know, because I know that he's pretty isolated. I mean, he worked from home as much as he can because of his condition and whatnot. His job, he's kind of IT, and he's definitely craving interaction, to say the least. And because of his lung condition, he's one of those high risk factor people.
He's got to lock down. Yeah. I have seen like definitely more community just within our neighborhood for sure. We are a very walking neighborhood. Like more people walk by my house every day than cars, and that's normal. Like anytime, like not even just right now. But there are people I've seen out and about that I hadn't seen out and about before. Even our neighbors right across the street, like we know them pretty well. Their kids are younger than our kids, so we don't engage a lot. But like their little girl just knocked on our door yesterday and left a note that said, "We really love Nigel, who's our dog, and we just wanted to let you know." Like, and it was this hand-drawn thing from like
awesome.
A 5-year-old girl, you know, and that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't all been as isolated as we are, you know. And so it's been interesting to watch that. And as somebody that's always thought that, again, I'm not one that is going to go out of my way to know my neighbors in the way that my wife does. But it's been cool for some of that to develop, you know, and that's a positive that you can take out of this.
That's hilarious. We were, so a lot of folks kind of walk in our neighborhood, but probably not near as much as yours because we have a busier street in front of our house. But it was Easter that Veronica and I were out walking, and there was, I mean, not a car anywhere. And I think I've told you the story, but I'm telling the stream too. But not a car out, and not only was there no cars out during the vast majority of our walk, but there was no people. But then out of the blue, this old beat up van comes driving by, and the side window is down, and this guy is like screaming blah, 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 out the side window, like what in the world? And Veronica and I look at each other like, did the rapture happen? And we just got, you know, kind of left behind. It's like, is this like a novel that we're writing right now? Like, you know, and then kind of as we were nearing our house, we saw our neighbors who are saintly, just awesome people. As soon as we saw them walking down the street, like, okay, the rapture hasn't happened. It's okay. It's just one of those weird moments that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
so,
there are like a lot of surreal moments these days, you know, like, and I mean,
So so you're a sports guy.
I'm a sports guy.
I'm a sports guy. Our family is a sports family. Our boys both play very competitive soccer. And we love going to hockey games. We talked about MSU hockey games a lot this past year and whatnot. And how does that happen after this?
It's tough. And I don't even, like, obviously I miss big sports. Like, I'm a baseball guy. It's baseball season.
I'm watching games, hockey games from December and January right now.
No doubt. No doubt.
I see the Bostons. I just watched the World Series Boston's game the other day.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. We
two New
were
Yorks.
watching an old Pistons game where it was the finals against Shaq and Kobe, and my kids like idolize Kobe, and part of that is just that he recently passed away.
Yeah,
obviously,
sure.
And they want to be part of that conversation, but it was kind of cool. But not having baseball right now, and that's my kids' baseball, and that's big time baseball, is just, I mean. We play travel baseball like your kids play travel soccer, and our travel is to the front yard right now to play catch, to hit into a net, to, you know, and that's a bummer. Like it's, I don't know. And again, I think that travel ball and kind of our kids sports will come back sooner, but I don't know when big time sports come back. And if they come back without fans, you know, and what does that
season
feel
ticket
like?
owner, think about that. You
Yeah.
know? I think of the Toronto Maple Leafs where a season ticket holder is paying $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
For season tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't small change. This isn't like the Detroit Red Wings where you know, you get a 12-game pass for $800 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think about like even these Michigan football fans that have to pay their seat license, where they're paying $10,000, $15,000 on top of their tickets just to be able to buy tickets to keep on the list. You know,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and
so I mean, there was some folks here from the UK earlier. I'm just even from a soccer standpoint, like I'm a huge soccer fan, but I mean, you think of the World Cup, and that's been postponed. When you think of the international nature, and we're talking about, I mean, you know, NBA, Major League Baseball, and NFL.
And localized.
It's localized, right? You can get away with, you know, it being a U.S. thing or being a Canadian thing if it's a CFL or something like that. You know what I mean? But when you talk about international sports like rugby, cricket, you know, soccer, all this kind of stuff. Tennis, golf, you know, where you're getting, but even golf though, I mean, it's just the golfers are all over the place, but I mean, the fans are still local. But I mean, when you get things like soccer, the English Premier League, I mean, you get people travel all over like Spain and stuff. Come in. What is it with the boomer thing today?
I don't know. Why do people think that we're boomers? We are so not boomers.
We are not.
And our students think we're boomers.
What's up, Trauma? How are you, buddy? I love the name, by the way.
Traumatizing X.
But it's one of those things where I'm really curious to see how those international sports will do.
Yeah.
Because I think from a country-based sport like the NFL, say, or NHL, even that's kind of cross-border a bit, but I think that's manageable.
Yeah.
But when you get into like the UEFA League and things of that nature, the Premier League, bro, I think it's just going to be, that's going to be hard hit. When you got players making, you know, $50-60 million, 50-60 million pounds a year to play a sport where there's no fans showing up.
Yeah.
It gets pretty dicey pretty fast.
We know that these owners are billionaires, but it doesn't, it's not never ending.
It's still an economics battle that you're up against. There's still some contracts you can't just walk away from. I don't know how. I just don't know how the teams are going to do it. I don't know how they recover from that. I don't know how they how we move forward.
I read a thing the other day that just even as like we go forward, do handshakes go away? Do high fives go away? You know, and
it's not for me. It doesn't come out of my repertoire. I don't know how it comes out of my repertoire.
I don't either. You know,
even in the middle of this, right at the very peak of this, I still come across somebody, and my first response is
like, oh
stick my hand out.
Yeah,
you know.
I think about like, you know, the number. Like I was talking to Veronica downstairs. There's a guy, you know, that was a ref at the Concord basketball game that locally here was a hot spot for this COVID-19. And you think about the number of high fives that happen in a high school basketball team, and the number of interactions between balls and hands, and you
even
know,
when someone scores and you're the fans in the sideline, just
to each other, you know. And how does that?
And I think to your point, Trauma, it doesn't matter where the owner is from. The fact is that owner pays my salary.
Correct.
Right. And that salary impacts my local whatever.
Correct.
You know, so if I'm making $50 million a year, that's $50 million I'm spending or investing in my community.
That community.
Or whatever the case is. So it doesn't matter where the owner's from. I want that person to be successful, because if they're successful, I'm successful. That's just the nature of the game, right?
Yeah.
That's capitalism as a whole. So
yeah.
You know, and I think that, you know, when we talk about sports, I think it correlates to business as well. I mean, I've worked for large multinational companies like Coca-Cola and Weyerhaeuser, where, you know, when you got 30 to 60,000 employees working for one organization, and a big part of my job back then was travel.
Yeah.
I went all over. I talked about a Canadian company I worked for called Sobeys, where I talked about the mass shooting in Canada that happened yesterday. I've actually been to that town in that province. In the scary thing there, I mean, that company employed about 22,000-ish people, and if I'm going from state to state, or in this case, province to province, to visit all of these satellites and stuff, I mean, how does that now come to some? Does that get curtailed in some way? And do I have to meet certain criteria before I can
enter? Yeah,
you know.
Because some of this is going to be like, we're going to come out of this regionally, just like the states
we saw
have
states
gone into it.
We saw states doing it already,
Yeah.
where they're stopping people at the border, or people that come through the state and they have out-of-state license plates. They're getting pulled over and said, "What are you doing here?
Over. Yeah.
Why are you in our state?"
Yeah.
You know, especially the people with New York plates were getting dinged like crazy.
Yeah.
And that's sketchy all by itself. But yeah, I don't know. I think from the standpoint of, so take it into context of Rise Above now.
Yeah.
What changes for us? What's up, Andy? Hang on a sec, guys. My mechanic is here. My maintenance guy's here.
What's up?
What's up, Andy?
Check out your furnace.
You smelling anything in the hallway? Initially, when it kicked on, I could smell it.
We think, Brian Bazor, we think we got a bad heat exchanger in or something.
Oh, is that what we think's going on?
So we'll be looking at here in a minute. See what's
Okay.
going on. So about an hour we'll be here and we'll be more detailed.
Cool beans. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Andy.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
Yeah, man. So I'm in the context of Rise Above. I mean, what does that do for us? Like, what do you think?
It's
I won't hold you anything.
yeah.
But I think things got to change. I think
Yeah.
something has to change in some way, form, or fashion. We have to mechanically look at things differently.
What do you mean by that?
So right now, we don't force our kids to clean up after themselves at lunch.
Correct.
Or
Yeah.
we have a sort of standing rule that on Friday you clean up your
Clean up
classroom.
your area. Yeah.
You know? I think that shifts from, hey, when you come in the morning, the first thing you do is you go wash your hands.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when you come through and you put your phone away, you grab some hand sanitizer.
On your way through. Yeah. And we had seen some of that the last couple of weeks we were here, where we were more intentional, like wipe down the tables after you leave lunch, you know, before the next group comes in.
Yeah.
And make sure you're washing your hands, and it's going to become a life skill that we teach, you know.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where I was heading with that whole life skill thing. Is this something now where we're being very intentional with our students, our kids, that we're actually bringing people in?
Yeah.
To have these conversations, and
about what's important about it and how we do it. I was making calls to students and parents today, just kind of checking in to see where everybody was, and I actually found it interesting. One family that I called was like, you know, like, this is a positive for our family right now that we're together and our kids are being troopers about it. And I think you hear the opposite of that a lot, where some of these broken homes become more broken because of it. And so I was very encouraged by that, and maybe we were a very small part of that, you know, especially with this particular family, you know.
And we've had some good feedback from some families to say, "Oh, thanks for reaching out to us," and you know, this wouldn't have happened with any other institution or whatever the case is. And, I mean, their words, not ours, but as well as we've had some students reach back out to us and say, you know, I miss you guys, or and things of that nature. Right?
Yeah, they're willing to, like I talked about earlier, they're willing to engage in ways that maybe, like, if we sent them a text and they were here every day, we wouldn't hear back from them. But we check in them now because they crave that, you know, that somebody's looking out for them.
Side rabbit hole. Were you on stream with me when I talked about? Was it you where I was talking about this book and the girl that held his hand and spit at him?
Yep.
So, in looking at this again today, there's really 3 steps to that. There's the, oh, I see you, and I think you have something that I want, so I'm going to be nice to you.
Yeah.
And then when I realize you're not going to give me exactly what I want, or that I'm not going to manipulate you, I spit at you. And then I think there's a third part to that. And the third part is our onus. So the first part is them thinking they can manipulate us.
Yep.
The second part is us coming to an understanding of what the relationship is actually going to be, in either excitement or disappointment.
Yeah.
On either part.
Yep. Yeah.
And then the third part where we actively try and pursue after that student, regardless of whether they were happy or unhappy with
Correct.
us.
Yeah.
I think that's the third part that's
Yeah,
not
that makes
in
sense.
that equation.
Yeah.
And so I think we actively see that, those three elements play out. So for those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, so there is a story in this book, that the book's called Something Needs to Change by John Platt. And there's a story in here where he's in the Himalayan mountains, and as he's traveling through a village, there's a girl who sees him hiking through the village, and she runs up to him, and she's super nice to him, wants to hold his hand, walks with him through the village. He quickly comes to realize that the only reason why she's doing this is because she's, as he's nearing the edge of the village, she starts to hold her hand out saying she wants something. And what he's realizing is she wants his food.
Food.
Yeah, his protein bars and all that kind of stuff that he's got in his pack. But he's been told by his guide that he can't do that for various reasons. One, she'd get it stolen from her right away if she didn't eat it. And what it would then do is if he gave something to her, the whole village would come out and try and
The
get
gist is that while you think it may be helpful, it's actually not helpful.
Yeah, when helping hurts type
Yes.
of situation.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying in our situation is that when we interview students, I think very often students come into that conversation thinking, I got this guy.
Oh, 100%.
I'm going to come in, I'm going to take advantage of this situation. I'm going to get, what I need to get back to school and, blah, blah, blah. And then when they realize, once we enroll them, that we're not going to give them, just flat out give them what they want, that it's not a handout, that if you want this, something needs to change.
Onus is on you.
Yeah, that I think very often these kids turn and will spit on us. Not everyone, not all of them, but a lot of them will turn and spit on us.
Yeah.
To use the analogy from the
Yep.
book, I don't mean figuratively or literally. I mean figuratively, not literally.
Yes.
At least not that I've noticed.
Not yet.
But I think it happens a lot. Some more overtly than others. Some they might hold it inside. Some it's obvious they're not happy with us, and some they're absolutely not happy with us. But I think that third step is where we then turn to them and work with that student and notice them enough that they come alongside of us and they say, okay, I'm willing to
Correct.
work
Yep.
to get the protein bar.
Yep.
Or whatever the case may be, or to have the improvement that I'm seeking after.
Correct.
The quality of life improvement, which is what this young girl wanted. She wanted a protein bar because she wasn't hungry.
Yeah.
And so, but I think, so the first step is them thinking that they're going to take advantage of the situation. The second is this mutual understanding of what the relationship is going to be, and either a happiness or a dislike of what's about to happen.
Correct.
And then the third step is completely on us. The onus is on us, which means if it fails, it's on us.
Yeah, which is different than what we talk about, right?
It's very different.
Because what we talk about is your success or failure here is yours. And we say that line, both of us. If you succeed here, it's because you chose to succeed here, and it has very little to do with the support around you. But if you fail, you made that choice too.
It's a choice you've made.
Yeah.
And more over these past few months, and particularly after reading that chapter, and I'm going to read you something else today that goes along with this. We've gone down a bit of rabbit hole, but I think
that's okay.
I think it works.
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's occurred to me more and more that the failure is less on the student as it is on us. And this is what I'm going to read today to you. And this is him. So he's kind of experienced all these things in his travels. Pardon me. And he's come to a realization. And guys, if anyone's there listening still, and I know that some of you are, I can see you. Please engage the conversation, because I'm interested to get your viewpoints as well on this topic, because it's actually it means a lot to our organization potentially.
Yeah.
And to some of the things that we're going to have to look at as we go into the future. He's done his hike for the day. He's realized now the depth of human trafficking, particularly in this community. And it's devastating him to watch all these little teen and preteen girls being trafficked the way they are.
Yeah.
And he says, as I lie in bed thinking about the different ones I've seen over the last week, including the girl he saw in the village that spit at him. In the light of Luke 15, I realized something in particular. There's really only one thing worse than being lost. What's worse is being lost and realizing that no one is trying to find you. I think if we have the viewpoint that if they fail, it's their fault, it's us saying, I'm no longer
I'm not
looking
trying
for
to
you.
find you. Yeah.
And the Luke 15 verse that he's referring to is this idea of who of you who loses one sheep doesn't leave the 99 to go after, you know, and that's the parable of the prodigal son is in there and the whole 9 yards, you know, and I think that's the thing here is it's really struck me a couple things. One, the importance of Rise Above being as small as it is and as intimate as it is, that we don't lose sight of the individual.
Yep.
Coupled with that is how easy it has been for us, how easy we've made it for us to just say, well, you decided.
Yeah. To let them go. And to be okay with letting them go, and in our minds to justify having let them go. Yeah.
And I guess the question I'm trying to reconcile in my brain is am I conflating something, or am I confusing something? Am I blending two themes together that should not be blended together?
Yeah, because I think sometimes in our head we're pulling that hand away, and we think we're doing like he did in the book, right? Where it was the right thing. It's okay to pull that hand away.
Because in that moment, that's what he thought.
Yeah.
I need to just walk away from this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he gets to the point of saying, you know, in pulling away, am I stopping to look for that lost sheep, so to speak? Or have I just resigned to the fact that that sheep's lost?
Correct.
It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because, I mean, we talk about a lot here about, or I get asked sometimes, and you get asked too, like, do the successes drive you or do the failures drive you, you know, in terms of.
How do you feel about that?
I think that the default is it's a both and, but I know that for me this year, there's one particular student that's not here anymore that he drives me. You know what I mean? Like, and as we're having this discussion, obviously he's who comes to mind, you know? And so I think for me, it's the ones that.
And I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It's that, you know? And then I look at other students, you know, a student that was here last year that just got a job and is re-engaging. I think with him, we've done a great job of continually finding him. Like he's been off our radar, and we continually seek after until we reach, you know. So, but for me this year, I think I answer that more as the failures drive me, you know, and I think we're going to go through seasons on that, you know.
Yeah, and I think that that's the beauty of our organization to date, is that we're small enough and nimble enough to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And to not lose sight. And I honestly think that, you know, to take this a bit of a different way, I think that's something our community needs to understand as well.
Correct. Well, because we get encouraged to expand, right? Encouraged to, hey, we're full right now. We have what we have. Well, this is a kid that needs you, you know, and that's probably true. Yeah. But can we have the success and the growth? I don't know. You know. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, the verbiage needs to be worked out on our end about how we communicate to the community the importance of the mode and the method, as well as helping them understand that, you know, because I go back, and I'll finish that statement in a second. I go back to when we first started Rise Above, and people basically said, oh, don't waste your time. for various reasons. One, they thought other people had tried and it wasn't successful, so you're not going to be successful either. You know, they gave it the old college try, so to speak. You know. Yeah. Two was, you know, the fact that people were saying they're bad kids. You can't change bad kids. You know, and so that gets to the analogy of you know, that no one's looking for the lost. Yeah. At that point, they've stopped looking in the direction of that student. In that included the schools. Yeah. You know, and I always talk about the one superintendent who said, you know, Neil, we didn't have anything to say to parents when we expelled students. Now you've given us something to say. Yeah.
And they all say it.
And they do. Yeah. And that's been the blessing in this, is that thankfully all of the superintendents are saying it, you know, large and small, which is, you know, very exciting to me to think that, you know, an institution that is our school system here in Michigan sees our organization as a key element of of their system.
Correct.
You know, yeah.
And that it's a ministry to boot.
Yeah, and they don't. That doesn't.
That's a very Canadian.
Yeah, it was. I was actually going to say something, but I kind of the old Canadian high five was saying, "Hey."
Yeah.
But you know, I think that's the incredible part of the story here is I think it highlights the fact that everybody knows what it's like to be lost, and everyone knows what it's like to be found, and that joy that they experience in the process of it.
So this philosophy, let's call it that, of finding and not being okay in theory with the ones we've let go because they're now lost, right? Does that change how we look at taking a kid in? Because right now, I'm just throwing it out there, you know, we make the call of who's found.
So I don't know that it necessarily changes the kid that we take. I know for a fact it changes who we remove and what happens after removal. Because it goes without saying that removal is absolutely necessary sometimes. But what I believe I'm saying is that after that decision is made, we're too quick to forget that student.
Completely disconnect.
Yeah.
And I look at that other conversation I had last week from somebody that was removed recently, and I just asked, I ran into mom and I asked mom about that student, and she was visually touched that I asked about, like visibly, like emotional that I took the time to ask, you know, because you still have these kids and these parents that want their kid to be seen, if you will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, I think the reality is that as you know, we think of students being or feeling helpless or feeling hopeless. Parents, in particular moms, really definitely feel helpless and hopeless in these situations, and I think it behooves us to do better.
And to me, in the past, what that's meant is to just, I think we do a good job of explaining that we are 100% aware that when we remove somebody, that they don't have anywhere to go. And now, in the context of this conversation, it almost seems patronizing.
So clarify that. So what he's saying, what Nick is saying, is that when Rise Above, when we make a decision to remove a student from our program from a behavioral standpoint, that student has done something grievous enough that we've decided that this student can no longer successfully engage our program because it impacts the other students too much in a negative way, that we say, okay, you can no longer show up to be a part of our programs.
That
process needs to change.
Well, because, you know, the question you get right away is, well, what do I do next? You know,
Because the reality is
there's not an answer.
There's nothing beyond Rise Above.
Correct.
We are the end of the line
Correct.
programmatically for this student.
Yeah. And
typically.
I think I've justified in those moments that, like, look, I'm aware that there's nothing beyond us. So, like, that makes it okay that I'm removing them. Whereas, like, and it does, but we need to take that next step of what's next is we engage somehow, or we, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
a challenge, right, for us.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and I can tell you that that is a gut wrenching conversation.
First one killed me. Yeah, like it just, I was a wreck that night.
Yeah,
You know.
it does. I talk about this. I've talked about this often. I think the fact that over the years, all the different iterations of my life and my work and whatnot, the different management positions I've held, and the literally thousands of employees I've had over the years, and disciplinary actions I've had to take on employees and terminations and whatnot. I think every termination I've done, every discipline I've done, has been right or justified. But every one of them is horrible.
Yeah.
I have gone to arbitration, and I've gone to into termination hearings where I have had an arbiter or a union person or other manager say to me, "Oh, this has got to be huge relief," or "This has got to feel good," you know. And it's just like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
You realize this kid has a 3-year-old at home?
Yeah.
You know, and that, you know, or is he a single dad, or she's XYZ, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing ever pleasant about that situation, because you have to, if you have any sort of humanity in you at all, you have to understand that this isn't just, you know, this idea of, he says it best. I'm going to see if I can find it here. Where is it at? Where is it at? The reality of what he's saying is the fact that I thought I found it. It's not just that problem over there. It's Jim, or it's Nick, or it's Neil. Once you know the person, it can't just be that thing. It can't just be that unproductive worker. It's not that simple anymore.
It's not a widget.
And when it comes to removing a student from a program, we have to understand that we are literally impacting, respectively, the next 50 years of this kid's life.
Well, and you're immediately maybe impacting the whole family's life if that parent can't work because now they've got a kid at home, or, you know, that's there. A million different things.
Because that's one of the things that we breathe life back into, is a parent that does not have to answer the phone every day.
7,000 times a week.
Or show up at the school for another hearing to talk about something else that Susie or Jimmy did at school. We hear that a lot from parents who say, you know, how awesome it is that my phone isn't ringing.
Correct. You
know.
gave them their day back.
Yeah, you know, how it came close to losing my job because I was having to take so much time off of work, you know. That's huge, so. But, all right. Well, I think I'm going to call it there. Stream-wise, I don't go too far. I want to talk to you about some stuff after we're off stream. But
no problem.
just want to thank everyone for showing up today, Dingle and Anna and Morg and Marike and MLA and all the other folks that showed up. Dad, my dad was here. You didn't know that?
Oh, really?
Not really. This guy, his name's Your Dad 24. We just call him Dad.
That's funny because 24 is a handle for me a lot. I tag it on the end because that's Gavin's baseball number.
That's awesome. And so, yeah, just thanks MLA for asking so many questions and put so much into it. Same with Hell's Nemesis. Thanks for showing up and all the other nutballs that came in here and called me a boomer today. You're all great. Even you, Trauma, you're all right. Appreciate you all. Hope to see you guys all next week. I don't know. I was going to play a game on stream today, but obviously changed my mind. I might still do that this week. I haven't decided. Depends how bored I get.
Yeah.
See if we have some work to do. Keep me busy otherwise. But either way, we'll see you guys all next Monday. Behave yourselves and, yeah, stay safe. Stay healthy.
See y'all.
Later.